All right, let's get rolling.
Yeah, okay. So here we
Awesome.
go. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Kicking It Custom. I am your host, Clayton Gelfand, and I'm joined by my co host, Alex Katz. And our special guest today is sports attorney and Gator alum, Darren Heitner. Darren, what's up? How are you?
Thanks for dropping in the Gator alum. I like that.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that. So before we get into the kicks and talk about that kind of stuff, can you talk a little bit about what you do for our listeners so they can have an idea? I think a sports attorney is pretty general, so uh, yeah, if you could touch on that, and then maybe for our young listeners, provide a piece of advice that would help them go in the direction of being someone like you one day.
Yeah, I guess it's interesting. It sort of is generalized, the type of work that I do, although specializing in servicing athletes, agents, and other sports professionals and businesses across a wide array, a wide spectrum of services that I'm providing from a legal standpoint, obviously. But then there are nuances. There are specific items and issues that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis that really only touch on the sports industry. For instance, when I'm dealing with an issue between an athlete and an agent, or an agent and an agent, or an agent leaving an agency, and so on and so forth, there are distinctions in the type of law and precedent that we use. In particular, when we're dealing with issues through the players' associations, there's a whole different set of precedent that's been established through arbitration as opposed to typical courts of law, state court, federal court, et cetera. What's interesting is when they hear that I'm a sports lawyer, a lot of people think, oh, he's a sports agent. And I'm not. I actually previously was a sports agent, and I thought at one point in time that was going to be my destiny and my career. I started my own sports agency going into my first year of law school, built that up over those 3 years of law school, then even continued it for a year thereafter, or roughly a year thereafter, until I actually realized I preferred practicing law. And there is a real distinction between practicing law and being a sports agent. In fact, what's so interesting is when I stopped being an agent, I turned a lot of my competitors who are agents into clients. Very, very few agents are actually practicing law, even those who have gone out, gotten their JD, and may even be admitted to a state bar association.
Yeah, thanks.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. That's awesome. So as the official lawyer for Stadium Custom Kicks, can you talk about some advice that you have given us to, grow our business and, protect our business? Because, a big part of your company is protecting businesses and their names and all of that, all the IP.
Yeah, Alex, forget about growing and protecting. I helped you start your business, the new one. And
Exactly.
what's interesting too is I just talked about how a lot of clients are agents. Well, the way that you and I connected was actually through your agent. So I'm not in the game of trying to compete against those individuals like your agent. And as you've seen, I'm able to help you while your agent helps you separately, and we kind of stay in our own lane. So what have I done to help you? Well, we first looked at the poor situation that you were in with your prior company. You were crushing it and providing a lot of similar services as you're doing now. But unfortunately, you were put in a relationship with an individual who was just not a good fit for you. And it's so interesting because I oftentimes talk to individuals who are starting up their companies and they have a partner or multiple partners. And I always say, look at this very in the same vein as you would look at getting into a relationship with a significant other. You never enter into a relationship with somebody else from a personal standpoint thinking that down the line there's going to be an issue. Yet so many people sign prenup agreements just in case. Well, it's similar here. We don't with another person thinking this is going to end up being torn apart at some point in time, but the reality is it's common. And so when I was first introduced to you, obviously you had a dispute with your prior partner. I won't get into the details, but we were able to resolve that peacefully. And that's a great thing. We obviously, you and I had many different conversations about what's the best strategy. Ultimately, we came up with a plan and we executed well, I believe. And you've been able to successfully start your own company. And now what we've done with you is really help you in those formative stages. I mean, you've been able to grow it from a business standpoint without my assistance, but from a legal standpoint, look, we like not only helping out individuals and companies to make sure that their contracts are strong and protecting the clients that we have, but also from an intellectual property standpoint, making sure you're protected on a trademark, from a trademark perspective, that your branding is taken care of. Keyword branding. copyrights, make sure that, for instance, in your world, and we haven't really done it yet, but if you have some sort of unique designs that have been created, copyright them. Make sure they're protected. They're a fixed form of art. So there's a variety of different types of services that we can provide, and we're happy to do so when called upon.
Right. And I think that leads us perfectly into the next question is I noticed you commented on a post that we did a few days ago of Felix Hernandez's custom shoes. And I wanted to know whether you saw this becoming a trend in sports and what advice do you have for athletes that are looking to brand themselves through creating their own custom shoe line?
I pinch myself. I'm happy that I've been able to create a name for myself in this space where intellectual property is really married with sports. We get, I'd say, almost a new inquiry per day from an athlete or a manager or an agent, someone who represents an athlete, about protecting the brand. And what we found is there are particular classes of goods and services that cater to athletes more than others. The most popular one, obviously, being apparel. And so we see it, obviously, you see it directly through your business. Footwear would be considered in the same category as other apparel that you would wear on your body. And so you can actually take care of everything with one filing, whether it's shirts or hats or shoes. And so that's one area that we've seen just so much business. I don't like to necessarily talk about it while we're in the stages of applying for and getting the registration. Although an example last week, which is public, and I got permission from the client, Mike Williams of the Chargers, he filed for an application, and it was picked up by ESPN and Bleacher Report, and it's just becoming such a common thing now where athletes understand the value of protecting their brand, being proactive. It's from a defensive and a proactive standpoint. Proactive, you want to make sure that you have the protection, but defensive, what if you're using something like whole lotta, which is what we found from Mike Williams? What if somebody else is out there using it before you? You want to make sure that you can understand that early enough and either rebrand or figure out a way to coexist with somebody else who's out there already and not be sued. That's the worst case situation.
Exactly. No, that's the key word right there. So that leads into our next question. How do you think custom cleats can change the game of baseball or all sports? Because obviously you don't just work with baseball players, you work with a lot of football players, like you just mentioned. How do you think it can change the game?
Well, it's so cool. I mean, it's like you're actually using your creative ability, and it's something that you're providing so much value at a low cost. And for an individual athlete, who is often told by way of the agreements between the teams and the associations what they can and can't wear on the field, on the court, et cetera, you're kind of operating in an area where there's much less restrictions. So I see the potential for so much growth in that area. And, by building your brand early on and creating a name for yourself, it's entrenching you in this particular industry and making it harder for newer entrants to compete. Obviously, you have some competition, but I think the sky's the limit for you. And it could always expand beyond just simply dealing with footwear. I mean, the designs are the designs. They're extremely creative. I find them to be, I love following you on social media. I mean, it's just like, there's every day, it seems like there's a new interesting design. And it's not only that they're just well put together, but there's oftentimes meaning behind it. I mean, when athletes are doing it in relation to a charity, that's awesome. When there's some sort of connection beyond just a cool piece of art, but there's a connection between the artwork and the athlete, I think you're basically becoming a storyteller and adding another connection to the consumer, to the fan. And social media is perfect for it. I think it's the great platform to really expose this amazing artwork and the connections between that artwork and the athletes to, as I mentioned, tell a story. Maybe that's the next step. It's actually telling stories behind the creations that are being produced.
Do you think the world is becoming more custom than ever before? Or do you think we're leading to more stock? Personally, on your social media, I saw that you got a new car a few months ago, and it looked like, you got the design either at the dealership or on the website. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think in all respects, custom. I know in my little bubble, I like to have custom, as you mentioned. I mean, I got a Tesla X. I love it. And I made sure that I was going to get it with the white interior and the black rims. And so, you custom build it. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I call it the panda: white outside, white interior, and then the black rims. It looks pretty sexy. But look, I mean, I think across the board, people want things that are custom, and it's actually one of the big reasons why I started my own firm and how I built my own law firm. I feel like I provide a custom legal service, one that's really based highly on communication and allowing the client to understand what he or she is getting in return for the payments that are being made. But also, I don't have a one size fits all type of service. I mean, if you want something specific, I'll work with you. I'll make sure that you're understanding the value that you're getting. And I'm not going to think I know what you want in every situation. I think that's, again, where communication's key. So yes, absolutely. I don't see, as a consumer, why you wouldn't prefer custom over a template that you can't pick and choose elements from. I just think you always put as a business owner, I always want to put my feet in the shoes of the consumer, right? And I can't understand why a consumer wouldn't want custom, to be honest.
Absolutely. So every one of our guests besides you was a baseball player, either a major league or minor league baseball player. And they all say, look good,
I was
feel
really good in Little League. I was all-star league.
You picked the right career choice, though. So they all say, look good, play good, feel good. Between all your lawyer friends, what is the saying? What is one common phrase or saying?
Mm-hmm. Look good, play good, feel good. I like that. Maybe I should use that in my legal profession. I don't know how I'm
you should trademark it. Trademark that phrase.
I don't know that we have a saying in the legal profession. I think one thing that we oftentimes say is, if you represent yourself, you have an ass as a client, essentially. But what we say in my firm is, we're trying to change the game and make it so that you're not hating your lawyers or hating the idea of hiring a lawyer, and that you're loving your lawyer. So we're really trying to change a lot of the way that the legal profession, or at least when it comes to our firm, how it's perceived. So we have our little tagline with that. But again, I don't know for the legal profession that there's necessarily a saying like you guys have in baseball.
So
Gotcha.
Darren, I have a question for you about this whole customizable thing, and this whole, you're all about making your clients appreciate you and like being able to communicate with lawyers. So I know there's a recent sports agent, Rachel Luba, who just started her own sports agency, and with the business model to customize it for the player and provide the services they need and not charge them for everything. Do you think that's a sustainable model? And do you think that's a model we might see in the future?
I actually heard Rachel on a podcast. It's interesting. I mean, I've been in or around the industry for 15 years now, and I wasn't aware of Rachel until I listened to a podcast. I think it was on Bloomberg about a week or two ago. And I thought that it was interesting in the way that she wants to change the game, and do so, as you mentioned, more from a cost perspective, where she's essentially trying to take the traditional hourly fee that a lawyer charges a client and use that in the sports agency industry, as opposed to necessarily charging a commission, or even charging a flat fee, as some people do with arbitration cases, but instead bill the client by the hour. And to the extent that she's able to make a career out of that and a good living, God bless her. I know that it's been done in other sports. In particular, I know in basketball, there is an agent who represented Ray Allen and others, and he sort of built a model that was based on the hourly fee. Look, I think it's always wise to, if you're trying to break into an industry, and especially if you're trying to do it on your own as opposed to attached to a large agency, try to change the game in some form or fashion. Try to stand out and provide extra value to the potential client. And if she's able to do so successfully, and it seems like she's starting to build a stable of clientele, then again, all the more power to her. I think that's fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. So going back to us talking about look good, feel good, play good, we're going to talk more about fashion. Do you consider yourself a lawyer with a little swag?
Oh man, hashtag swag. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do. I'm not the type of lawyer who typically, I'm not suit man, I guess, as Barstool would refer to it.
That's not you. That's not you.
No,
Good old
I
Peter
am.
Nelson.
Yeah, if I'm in court, obviously, I'll even go sometimes three-piece suit and change it up. But look, when I have to dress up, I dress up, and when I'm doing so, I definitely try to do so in style. Shout out to my boy Kenny at Austin Burke down in Miami.
Oh yeah.
But otherwise,
Little
look, I mean,
plug, little plug.
what you see is what you get. I love being in a t-shirt, sweats. Right now, I'm in jeans. I mean, you see the background. I like to. This is my
Heitner of
home
the seas.
office.
Heitner of the seas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'd like to think that I have a bit of swag. I don't. I try to take the approach that like, not much is going to phase me, and just because something's been done traditionally for many years, decades, centuries, doesn't mean that we have to do the same thing. There's no magical formula for success. Everyone can find his or her own way to his or her own belief that they are successful. And for me, if I'm going to lose a client because I work out of home or because I don't dress up in every occasion, then it's probably not the client that I want anyhow. I'm results oriented and driven. And so, again, I think, yeah, I have an element of swag with me for sure. And I hope that my clients appreciate that.
Oh yeah. So that
And
leads
we
into
even create
rapid.
swag. I mean, I'm a law firm that has like trucker hats and tank tops, and that's our
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly. So that leads us into rapid fire. This is the best part. All right. You ready?
Okay, let's do it.
What is your favorite shoe of all time?
And it doesn't have to be one you
This
own or wear. It could just be a
this is
favorite.
this is supposed to be rapid fire, and I'm already stalling.
This happens to everybody. Don't worry. We
I
always
gotta
call it the
say,
not so rapid fire.
my jam for years now has been the Ultra Boost by Adidas. I've got it in so many different styles. I wear it every morning on my runs. I mean, it's just
Oh
my
yeah.
go-to. It's the best running shoe around.
That's one of those
Absolutely.
shoes that you could work out in and obviously go to
Do
dinner in, right?
everything in. Yeah.
So next one is what's your go-to sneaker / dress shoe right now? We might have answered it, but maybe there's another shoe.
No, I mean, I don't wear my Ultra Boost out at night. I don't wear it out to dinner or anything. One shoe that I've loved over the past couple of years is John Geiger. I don't know if you're familiar with what he's
Yep.
done. Really cool. Like, it's a comfortable shoe. Gives me a little bit of height because I need it. I'm not a tall guy. And for the people who know, if you know, you know. And when you're walking out, you got a Geiger on, you get a little cred.
Love it. Love it. So
It's that simple swag.
are you a suit or athletic wear kind of guy? I think we might have answered this already too.
Absolutely athletic. I mean, I'm not even so much about the style. I'm more about the comfort. I need comfort. I love that. Yeah. So I'm athlete wear. Absolutely.
Are you do you have a favorite suit or athletic wear brand? It sounds like you just indirectly said Lululemon, but that's just a guess.
No, I did not. I'm actually not a Lulu guy. Um,
You heard it here, folks.
yeah, no, I mean, look, I have nothing against Lulu, but I'm not a Lulu guy. Um, I'd say,
There we go. And the last question, if you could customize a pair of shoes, what design would you go with? Could be as crazy, simple or as crazy as you want.
I'm
Probably an
waiting for
Ultra
my.
Boost.
No, I'm waiting for my Stars of David all over the shoe. Like, where is I need
Where
I
are you
need to
gonna
rep Team Israel
where are you gonna rock that?
everywhere,
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Got it. All right. So I think I might have your address. Be on the lookout. Be on the lookout
I'm
next couple
waiting.
of
I've
months.
been waiting for ages. I'm ready.
All right,
We'll,
let's do
we'll
this.
deliver them
I'll
on
wear
a
them to
boat.
church.
We'll deliver them on a boat. We'll drop them from a drone.
They can be on Keds. I just want stars of David everywhere.
That's it. That's it. They might be. What are those? What are those like sandal looking shoes?
Crocs?
Crocs.
I would absolutely rock Jewish Star Crocs. That would be the coolest thing ever.
I heard those were the shoe of the quarantine.
Not the Star of David Crocs.
No, but I heard Crocs in general blew up during quarantine because everyone was staying inside and they're a very comfortable, cheap shoe. So
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, Darren, we appreciate you having here. That
Of course.
That concludes this episode of Kicking It Custom. And to those listening, remember, comment below who you want as our next guest. Darren, we really appreciate it. You talking kicks with us and everything else. And yeah, take care. We hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. Continued success.
Thank you. Same with you. Talk to you soon.
All right, guys.
Bye.